What's going on, everybody? It's your host Dan with Jab Journals. I'm here at the aftermath of a knockout. What is it? Night of knockouts here at Motor City Casino. I'm here with promoter Carlos Llinas. Carlos, before we get into the main event, which was spectacular, the card itself was really good. You said in the press conference the other day, people, prospects are being challenged, guys are stepping up, and I think you really showed that tonight. How do you think the card went prior to the main event?
I was very happy with the way the entire show flowed. I thought it was accurate before when I said, hey, everybody is going to get challenged. Everybody is going to face probably their hardest fight, and I think that kind of was consistent with maybe an exception of one or two through the night that kind of cruised by. But other than that, a lot of people were pushed, man. It showed whether you were training or doing the right things.
Yeah.
So I was pretty happy about it.
Yeah, and you said, a lot of young a lot of younger talent on the card tonight. Cody Brooks and Lance Smith making their pro debut, but both got taken into the second round. Like tough opponents. You think that's good for like younger fighters to kind of have a tough fight, their first fight like that?
I can't tell you how many times you have a guy who fights 10 Uber drivers, right? And their 11th fight, which is really their first real fight, because that's when maybe the guy might punch back. They get punched and it's like a deer in headlights. You know what I mean? They don't really know how to react to it. And it's downhill from there. So these fighters should be groomed. They should be, they should fight harder fights, and step up every time, not just worried about padding records and finding the path of least resistance, because usually that doesn't lead to success.
Right. Yeah, and I think you showed that with your matchmaking tonight. Let's go into like the co-main event. Antoine put on a good show. Boxed his way to a victory. How do you feel that fight went, and can we see more Antoine here in Detroit?
I love Antoine. I think Antoine's an unbelievable fighter. I think he's a great person outside the ring. I think he's got tremendous skill. He just signed with a huge company that actually got Turkey, the Saudi Arabian guy, into boxing. He signed with them, so he's got some big minimums, man. He's about to get paid, and I love it. I love to see guys progress as things go, and I would love to have him back.
Okay.
I don't know if I can afford him anymore.
Right. Before we talk about the main event, let's talk about the lead up to this card. Weber versus Miller was big around the city. A lot of buzz. Do you think the fight lived up to the hype?
I thought those guys were tremendous, man. I've been around for a while. Both guys were hurt in the fight. Both showed resilience. Both showed grit. Both of them were hurt during the fight. They were hurt, and I'm super proud of both, man. I don't think either one of them lost, and that's probably where the draw comes into effect. There was no loser tonight. I think both learned so much in there. They learned more in this fight than all of their previous fights combined. They knew how they now know how to go through this adversity, where it's tremendous, bro, being out there and being hit like that, and just have to regroup yourself, in the middle of everything, man. I'm super proud of both guys, man. Super proud.
I agree with what you said about there being no loser in the fight. Obviously the fight ended up in a draw. Both fighters weren't happy, but I think that was a fair decision. Were you happy with the judge's decision?
Yeah, I was happy with the judge's decision. I could see, look, Weber might have been hurt the most in that fight, perhaps, where he regrouped himself and probably won the later part of that round, which was amazing. But I think it was close. I really have to sit down and look at it, because there was some things that happened where I couldn't keep my eyes on it all the time. But so I hate to comment unless I've completely, watch it from bell one to the end. But I just thought that both were tremendous efforts.
Yeah. Overall, I think the card obviously went awesome. Fans seemed to like it. There was mentioned in the press conference, this is the longest running show at one venue, I think, in the country, at least the state. walking away from a card like tonight, how do you feel about what you've built here in Detroit and at Motor City?
It not only is it in the state the longest, it's by far the longest in United States of America. There used to be a place, Tacoma, Washington, at like the Queen City Casino. They were around for like, I think they did like 12 years or something. I've been here. This is my 15th year.
Hmm.
15th year in the same venue. It's unheard of, man. And our numbers are great. We sell out most of the time, or close to it, all the time.
Yeah.
And we go just about every month in a certain combat sport. This time it's boxing. I think we're back on the 15th of March for cage fighting, and that show is probably 2/3 sold out right now.
Yeah.
And then we're back here in May 17th. Um, I'm very happy of the fight community here. I mean, I don't feel right taking the credit, um, because it's really a group effort, man.
Yeah.
It's I couldn't do it without the gyms and the community here that really supports fights. So
Yeah.
I'm really lucky to be here.
Well, I mean, Detroit boxing has been big for a very long time, and you've obviously cemented yourself in that position of being a promoter in Detroit. Before we go, you mentioned some other cards coming up, March 15th, MMA, and then you said May 17th for the next boxing match.
Yep, I'm actually March 8th. I'm doing a show in Lansing. We have some really good fights lined up in that show. We have two great fights so far, a couple other good ones, a couple that suck, you know. Um, but
We love honesty here.
yeah,
Gotta be honest.
unfortunately, man, you would like to make every fight an Ali Frazier fight,
Right,
but
right.
I would be broke if I did. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You can do it if you had unlimited funds, but unfortunately, that's kind of the biggest setback to making every fight that you really want to make.
Right. All right. Well, appreciate your time, Carlos. You're a busy man.
Thank you, man.
And
Appreciate it.